In an outside setting, I followed my old dad between some buildings, lit up in the sun and seemingly otherwise deserted. We found a way down from the street level into what seemed a passage into a basement. It was very dark, but we seemed to hold a lamp. I'm not sure which of us actually held it. And as we shone it in front of us, a lot of ceiling lamps came on, and we could see what looked like an almost endless and very wide cellar stretching into the distance. It was full of rows and rows of ceiling-high shelving, laden with what appeared to be boxes of alcoholic drinks. Somehow we were aware it was all contraband. I kept looking behind me as I had an uneasy feeling about the place, and half felt somebody was going to shut the entrance behind us. This scene faded away, and I found myself still with my dad in his garden shed, more a workshop, very like the one I spent many happy hours in at my dad's side when I was a boy, at the house we lived in for the first 17 years of my life in Luton in southern England. In this real side version, the workshop seemed larger than the original on the physical side, and my dad was busily improving his workbench, adding a new wooden front to it and some new drawers for tools. Then again, seemingly without a break, the scene changed, and I was now in some enclosed area, probably a big shop, with my mother and one of her sisters, my Aunt Eva. This seemed almost an action replay of a dream I had a few weeks ago, again with my mother in a shop or similar, but on that occasion we were with another of her sisters. My mother was one of 10 siblings that survived into adulthood. This time it was my Aunt Nance. As with the other dream, nothing seemed to happen and the dream faded away. I have thoughts on it. If I have any more dreams about long-lost family members, I shall start thinking the Grim Reaper is starting to swing his scythe in my direction. I do remember some years ago somebody, I can't remember who, telling me that one of my numerous deceased aunts was looking out for me. For some reason I felt it was my Aunt Nance. She was one of my favourite aunts in life. My dad was one of 5 siblings as well, so I had plenty to choose from. And in fairness, they were all very nice to me as a boy. It was probably the blonde hair that did it. It was not long before my mother had died, back in 2003, that she told me that Aunt Nance's real name was Anne, and Nance was only a nickname she had always had. The name Anne has always had a very special meaning for me, and many Annes have played a significant part in this life. So this was yet another example. My old mum and dad have appeared to me many times over the years since they left the physical, but I seem to be getting more and more dreams of them lately. Maybe they're telling me to get ready to meet them soon.
The first part of the experience, you're going to the basement. Is that so? Yeah, you're going to the basement. Okay, so undoubtedly, it's one of the boys that's giving you a little tour there, artificial light. So again, take a look at that because the basement, like the subconscious, it's kind of hidden or it's underneath all things like the attic or the garage or the backyard, etc. And so also, the indicator there is the fear that the door will close. What does that tell you?
Basic insecurity, I suppose. I don't know what else to make of it, really.
No, what it is, well, you can say it that too. There's many views on it. Those are the old things of your past that you're still hanging on to that you need to confront. Otherwise, the door will close on you. Yeah, very important. So again, It's not skimming over anything. For us to succeed, we need to confront everything, because all the experiences that we've had lead up to the all is. So need to confront these things that we're attached to. So yes, I had parents too, and relatives, etc. But I learned that, as they went on their way, they went on their way. That was it. Didn't have any little cute attachments or anything to them, because they're on their own journey. But you decide your life. So again, these things, you might say they drop from yourself to underground. Then all of a sudden, and you kind of forget them like dust on the floor. But there they are. So they're giving you the hint there. And again, you got the impression. So I'd really look at that. So it's simply looking at these things realistically. So each one of us is a free being of real light. And as we learn to relate to others, being to being, we clean things up. You see? So, but it's a choice. And then you're going into your Father's workshop too. Again, things are being added to it. So in other words, it's a workplace for you. So you have work to do, a whole lot of work to do. So you decide how much of this you're going to take for granted and not pay attention. So it keeps showing up, you see? But you decide, it's your life, because when you pass over, yes, you can go with those people and you can be as lost as they are. You decide.
I found myself driving to Luton to the house of a very long-term friend of mine called Bern, short for Bernard. In fact, Bern was an accounts room senior when I started work from school at the then second biggest accountancy practice in Luton in 1962. Now in his 80s, he is still sharp as a razor and does some odd work for me. I always enjoy seeing him, and we have great laughs together, reminiscing about times at the old firm and swapping filthy jokes, etc. In this real side experience, the first time I ever remember dreaming of Bern in the 59 years I've known him, although it was apparently set in the present time, that is, well, when I wrote this, July 2021, I found myself oddly driving on an ice-covered, misty road under leaden skies. When I got to his house, it was totally different to its physical side equivalent. Instead of the familiar 2 up, 2 down, early 1900s terraced house with a minuscule front garden separating it from the pavement, that is the sidewalk, much the same as so many old streets in Luton, including the one I spent the first 17 years of my life in, and no doubt to be found in most of the towns and cities of the UK. Instead of this, the house appeared to be detached and fronted with quite a long driveway, which I now proceeded up, still in the car. When I reached the front door and walked up to it, there were 3 or 4 men standing about outside. They appeared to be waiting for Bern to appear. Then I noticed an upstairs closed curtain twitch, and I saw Bern looking down at us expressionless. Then I appeared to be in a largest kitchen on my own, but to both sides of me, as I recall, there were long worktops covered in plates and dishes and full of as yet uncooked food, enough for a small banquet. I now got the feeling it was suddenly Christmas and the other callers were visiting, probably relatives. This kitchen also contrasted strongly with the physical version of Bern's very confirmed bachelor pad. His tiny kitchen consists of a few grimy looking wall cupboards on one side and an equally grimy looking cooker opposite, covered in unwashed pots and pans, and every available space boasts a cardboard box or two full of empty beer cans. At the left, as you enter, is the entrance to his living room, which is beyond description, and to the right, the door to the bathroom, which is even worse. Its best feature being Byrne, being a passionate gardener, is the bath full of potted garden plants. Back on the real side, a door opened, which I seemed to know led to upstairs, and two middle-aged women appeared. I can't remember what they had to say, but I got the distinct impression throughout the dream, from the time I reached the house, that Byrne did not want to see or even know me, even though he did appear downstairs briefly at one point and ignore my attempts at getting his attention while he spoke to the other men. And that's where the dream ended, but just the thoughts on it. From the very beginning, the weird, un-July-like weather and creepy gothic scenery was totally different to the normal. The road looked totally untreated or used, no other vehicles appeared, and was caked with ice. It was bordered by totally dark countryside and the impression, at least, of tall trees, more like Hollywood Transylvania than Bedfordshire. It was totally straight and disappeared into a misty infinity. I feel now little doubt that this was on the lower astral level. I think the whole thing was set there, and that the Byrne figure was probably a dark forces being trying to fool me. For what reason I can't imagine, but what I am getting from it is a warning from the real guides that nothing is as it seems, so beware. Maybe again this is preparatory to my making the great transition in the imminent future. I'll end on that cheerful note.
Well, you're seeing it basically like it is. You're visiting someone's house. I can see the idea. And so on the real side, you're visiting it, and all of a sudden this is what it really looks like as opposed to the appearance here. What it's showing you is, just like what you're experiencing there. You see him from the real side, which is the second floor, and from what you're saying, you're getting the impression that he didn't want you there or something like that or whatever, because he probably sees you, and my guess would be, looking from his viewpoint, seeing you, that all of a sudden you're more aware. And from what the situation looks like and the appearance of things, the Hollywood monster house there, that he doesn't want anything to do with you because you are more aware. So again, you got the impressions, you see what it is. You're seeing him from the real side. Okay? In other words, aside from that friendship idea. So you decide. So again, see, this is where we experience the reality of the people we know, even though they put on a front. But you see what they're doing on the real side and where they're at, and do you still want to be friends with them? You might say, yeah, you can know them. It's fine. You can do whatever you want. But many times there's these emotional attachments there also. You see, so you're going there, so you're seeing really what it is. Again, you're saying, oh, he's been my friend all my life. So undoubtedly, there's these emotional attachments there. And just like your first experience in the basement and the fear of the door closing, that's all those emotional attachments and ideas and whatever that are still there that you don't see right underneath your feet, you might say, because the feet is the physical part. Now, with all that we've learned, what we really learn to see is what is not real. That's very, very important. And that's not specified anywhere. I recognize that as I went through this. And that is, it's very important for us to experience that, but also acknowledge it, because again, otherwise you're held by it. Because just like, me not answering here, the boys are not going to be doing much for you if you don't decide something for them to help you along. And that's where the tool shed came in too. They provided certain little things for you according to, what you're willing to agree to. So life's a whole lot more than anything that we can consider here. Creation is all of it, all the ideas, everything is a simulator. That's it. End of story. But you decide what your reality is. Very, very important. Otherwise, you just keep coming back here. And it only takes one thought, and you're back.